Hello, I'm Virginia, and I would like to start thanking for allowing us to share with you the results of our work. We are an interdisciplinary team from Brazil engaged in academic research as well as in developing products of high social impact. Our team is made up of professors and students in social anthropology, technology, and architecture. We belong to the Federal University of Santa Maria. In our presentation, we are going to share with you the results of two different experiences during 3D models and interactive resources to recreate scenarios of violence and mass crimes. The first one deals with a clandestine detention center used in Argentina during the last military dictatorship. It is called El Campito, the Little Field. This extermination center hosted around 3,000 illegally kidnapped people, most of whom were killed and disappeared. This facility was destroyed before the end of the military regime to erase all traces of crimes. The second one deals with a nightclub fire that caused 242 deaths in Brazil in 2013. The building was destroyed this year, and today nothing was left standing. We developed two devices. They both serve as evidence in trials and as memory places. To start our presentation, we are going to share with you two short videos that show the type of work we have done. These videos simulate any user's itinerary. Based on these devices, we analyze the relationship between imagination and technoscientific resources. We aim to understand how they contribute to create and shape collective imagination about mass crimes. These resources offer a unique opportunity to ask ourselves some critical questions. How do they perform the reality of crimes? Are they a portrait of a real history or a fictional narrative? How do they produce an illusion of consensus acceptable by all parties involved in judicial debate? We ask these questions considering that these devices have a challenging relationship with reality. Unlike analogical photography, there is no external work to be captured. Reality is produced through a complex curational process undertaken by us. To answer these questions, we analyze their properties, the type of technological resources we employed, the curational process we followed, and the context in which these digital interactive tools were produced. These devices were created to represent and document the reality of crimes and to preserve collective memory. They do this by 1. Presenting a realistic, coherent, and convincing account of these spaces, bringing together scattered details from different sources, such as a puzzle. Different software, textures, colors, and lighting were introduced to improve their realistic appearance. This account includes the recreation of objects such as a cot used during torture, considered similar to those real ones, using real-time visual technologies, as well as specific resources that came from the audiovisual and literary genre and virtual reality, such as interactivity and modeling of spaces. 3. Gathering survivors' testimonies and introducing parts of them along the itinerary. Survivors' testimonies allow the users to know what happened at every specific place. In both cases, we created a data set that turned into a written description that progressively turned into a volumetric model and finally into a digital one. El Campito was created first as a memory website in 2018, and immediately it was requested by the judicial system. Since then, it turned into a judicial evidence. No photos remain on El Campito documenting its building structure or the conditions of captivity. The place is covered today by vegetation hiding the memory of horrors. No material proof remain but its foundations. The challenge was to make the concentration space visible in order to undo the perpetrators' intention of hiding their crimes. Its craft required a combination of powerful imagination and artisanal search for sources. All aerial images were combined with a foundation discovered in archaeological excavation, with similar structures still standing, with sketches made by survivors, data obtained during oral hearings at previous trials, and the visual memories of the few survivors who were not forced to cover their heads with hoods. Through a process similar to an artist modeling a sculpture from the raw stone to the final version, successive versions were presented to survivors until we obtained a digital object with a three-dimensional itinerary, considered equivalent to their memories. By making this extermination camp visible, the objective reality reconstructed erases the subjective experience of most survivors who were forced to use hoods permanently. To account for their experiences would have required eliminating completely the entire examination space to focus only on the incomplete succession of images that survival captured when looking at the floor from his hood, mattress, perpetrators' boots, the grass, etc. Instead of presenting an experience marked by disorder, fragmentation, and the lack of meaning, the device reconstructs a comprehensive scenario. Because of this condition, it enters into the judicial realm. Key's device recreates the nightclub as it was the night before the fire. It was created at the request of the prosecution in 2021. In 2024, it became a digital memorial website. We use a digital scanning of the building previously done by the police. We also use a collection of visual sources such as photographs and videos made by the frequenters, written documents and reports from survivors included in the process. The team read the whole process, totalizing 30.000 pages, and analyzed 300 testimonies. The Davis recreates the whole space, even though survivors had very different experiences depending on their location within the nightclub and their previous experiences and knowledge of the space. In both cases, these devices came into life thanks to a combination of technological gadgets, scientific practices, and public commitment. As a result, we produced devices that allows a first-hand immersive experience into the horrors of these spaces and the suffering of survivors. In both cases, court hearings were simultaneously broadcasted on YouTube, reaching large virtual audiences. Since its public existence, these virtual objects acquire a social life of their own, rendering new opportunities to perform the past within the judicial space, the field of testimony, artistic creation, and heritage production. Regarding El Campito, a couple of months before the audience, prosecutors demanded to replace the militant vocabulary used in the memorial site, such as perpetrator, for example, by other terms considered more neutral, in order to avoid any possibility of recusal from the defense lawyers. During the trial's oral hearings in Argentina, El Campito took a central stage. It was displayed on a screen while I was participating as an expert witness, stressing its scientific qualities according to official prosecutors' recommendations. El Campito produced a second unexpected effect, the creation of a civil association among the survivors. The initial dispersion changed as the object came to life. As the team progressed interviewing survivors, the object became a space of mediation among them, making the reunion possible. The virtual memorial device and its public presence impacted on survivors, creating the condition for the establishment of an emotional community that supports political action based on mutual recognition more than 30 years after Argentina returned to democracy. The device was included into an autobiographical fictional movie starring Felix, the son of a disappeared couple. At a certain point of the movie, Felix looks around the military garrison for signs of their parents, and as soon as he uses a virtual reality helmet, the camera pans around the virtually reconstructed space occupying the whole cinema screen. Finally, when the device was presented for the public, the daughter of a disappeared person approached me saying with deep emotion, "Finally, after 35 years, I was able to see and know the place where my father was held captive and spent his last days alive." During their testimonies, Argentinian survivors used references to the device as a way of revealing the truth, confirming they consider the device as mimetic to their own experiences. In the case of Brazil, the device was used to support the survivors' narration during the court hearings. While they were testifying, it was possible to follow what happened to them. Their itinerary was deployed on a screen. A week later, after publishing online the Kiss virtual memorial site, a father of one of the victims recognized me in the street and showed me a photo on his cell phone of his son dancing a few minutes before the tragedy started. Then he showed me the specific location where his son was dancing, recreated by the digital device. The real photo was in the lower half, and the digitally reconstructed image was in the upper half of the screen. Visible more, he said, it is faithful and exact. These devices, distinguished by their ability to recreate critical scenarios, to serve as judicial evidence at trials and works as lieux de mémoire. Based on a totalizing and realistic narration, they enable immersion and the mimetic illusion, making possible the sorcery. They restore the lost unity, making the virtual space look like real spaces. Through digital reconstruction, the horror reaches us with unusual force. These devices perform violence. They contribute to reject the arguments of perpetrators who try to erase their crimes, saying that the extermination center never existed, or the claims posed by the owners of the nightclub who said the fire was just an accident. Technomagic is produced through the reciprocal effects among algorithm memories, networks, expert interfaces, suffering, software, and testimonies. It is crafted during the curational process and when users make use of them. These technological reconstructions create new spaces of emotional and collective engagement, turning survivors into a unified community and fostering deeper recognition of violent experiences. They are not simple technologies at the service of pragmatic or functional projects. They rather make up a symbolic territory capable of channeling our contemporary sensibilities. Users have the possibility to immerse themselves into the suffering experience in the most intense way possible, configuring cultural practices capable of producing both empathy and trust. Thank you.